It is April 20th, 2026, 12:27 p.m. I just left the Santa Clara County Family Courthouse. I was hiking in the Redwoods this past weekend, and I realized, I need my court paperwork. I don't typically, for some reason, Santa Clara County does not send my findings after hearing. They do not send my minute orders. In 2023, they used to send my minute orders and findings after hearing, and then it just stopped. And even though they know I live in Sacramento, I've never lived in Santa Clara County. The respondent lives on the East Coast, has never lived in Santa Clara County. And despite the fact that everyone always shows up virtually, I think I've driven down here twice to come to a court hearing in 3 years. The first time because I had domestic violence restraining order, so I drove down, big booty pregnant, to the trial that they dismissed, or they rescheduled, and then ultimately dismissed when Hendrickson got assigned to the case. And then a second time when I got a new lawyer, and the signs of abuse that my daughter was experiencing, the fact that I had a criminal case for battery and child endangerment, I was just so panicked. I got this lawyer and drove down, thinking, this case has got to, what's going on? This doesn't make any sense. So I drove the 3 hours and got here so I could sit in the courthouse, and it was pure torture. Anyway, I picked up paperwork. The denial to my request to stay the domestic violence restraining order trial because there's still a pending appeal to address parentage, whether the visitation custody orders are valid, and to dismiss the DVRO. And then there's a pending criminal case. So I requested to stay the domestic violence hearing, and so it was denied. Why? Does not meet any statutory requirements for orders shortening time. So it was denied. I filed ex parte because the court wasn't responding to my electronic filing that I filed 2 weeks in advance of the hearing. They weren't responding to it, so I filed ex parte. So they denied both requests for a motion to stay. And then the second thing that I picked up are the minute orders for the domestic violence restraining order hearing. It was electronically recorded, so I'm going to request the electronic recording. There was no court reporter. I thought I'd filed for a court reporter. And then this is interesting. They have minutes, they stamp different times and have notes of what happened at different times throughout the hearing. But it doesn't look, I didn't find findings after order hearing, findings and order after hearing. I asked about that, and it sounds like there's just going to be a minute order. There isn't going to be a findings and orders after hearing. So I have this. And then April 15th, 2031, 11:59 p.m. It's the official restraining order after hearing. Order of protection against me. Julia Davis. I am a domestic violence. I am being accused of domestic violence. So that's I'm to have no contact. And the I'm looking through it now. No, yeah, no contact order. No contact. My daughter's 3 years old. I was pregnant when I left an abusive relationship. 3 years of domestic violence I experienced. And 3 years into my family court case and ongoing documented and reported domestic violence by the respondent, the man I left after 3 years of domestic violence, he now has a domestic violence restraining order against me. Honorable Johnene, Johnene Stebbins, Stebbins. I think she's been a judge for a year now. And before that, she worked for the DA as a prosecutor in Santa Clara County. And she was endorsed by Hendrickson, the judge before her. Hendrickson was preside over my case for 3 years and ignored all the domestic violence for 3 years. Prevented a trial or evidentiary hearing for the first DVRO that was granted to me by a judge in Santa Clara County. Hendrickson, prevented there from being a trial or a hearing. She dismissed it. And when I had a second domestic violence restraining order and a criminal case for battery and child endangerment in Chicago, Illinois, she ignored it. She said she believes the father's version of events. So she ignored the police report. She ignored the criminal charges in a criminal courthouse in Chicago, Illinois. She said that those were all not true and valid. Child custody, legal custody, physical custody, sole custody to the abuser. So this is the first time I'm actually looking through the document. How do I feel? I am so glad that I went hiking this weekend. I'm so glad that I've been prayerful. I spent time on the ocean. I walked barefoot in the sand along the coast and felt the cold, very cold water, ocean water on my feet. I took in and smelled the ocean air. I watched the sunset. I watched the sunrise 2 times, 2 times each. I watched the sunset twice, and I watched the sunset rise on the ocean. I went out into the redwoods. I hiked for a few hours. I took my shoes off. I sat along a creek. I think it's called Crooked Creek. I sat on a rock in the creek and just felt the very, very, very cold, ice cold creek water just run across my legs. And I just listened to the water. And I did deep breathing, and I prayed to God, and I grounded myself, and I took a moment to heal. Because this has been 6 years now. I started experiencing abuse in 2020 when I was first raped. And the abuse hasn't stopped. It's been consistent year after year after year. It's now 2026. 6 years of ongoing domestic violence. And now my little girl, my 3-year-old, has been taken from me. And I'm not allowed to see her.